God speaks to man in dreams, in visions of the night, in symbols, and in gentle nudges that the rational mind would dismiss. You do not wait for a sign in the sky. You do not wait for permission from the world. You receive the sign within yourself. It is a subtle shift, an inner knowing, a silent agreement between you and the infinite being that lives in your imagination. You say yes to the unseen, and that yes echoes through eternity. I have said before, and I will say again, your imagination is God. When you dare to imagine boldly, when you close your eyes and see the end, when you feel it is done, then you have aligned yourself with the infinite power of creation. But something peculiar happens when God is about to bring forth a great manifestation in your world. There is a preparation, a divine prelude, and those with eyes to see will recognize it. You may find yourself in a season of isolation, not because something is wrong, but because something is right. You may find that things begin to fall away, relationships, habits, places you once felt comfortable in. It may feel like loss, but it is not loss. It is pruning. It is the clearing away of the old to make room for the new. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. The soil of your life is being turned over to receive a greater seed. When God is about to give you something big, your world may appear to contract, and many misinterpret this. They say, "Why is everything falling apart?" But I tell you, it is not falling apart. It is falling into place. The outer chaos is often the sign of an inner alignment. The shell must crack for the life within to emerge, and the greater the manifestation, the deeper the cracking. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. You must be made new to hold what is new. So in that silent season, the voice within you grows louder. The world may grow quiet, but your soul begins to shout. You begin to see signs in your inner conversations. You may find yourself repeating words that feel foreign to your past self, but familiar to your future self. You may wake up with a feeling of anticipation, not because anything has changed out there, but because everything has changed in here. That is the signal. God does not give you what you are not ready to receive. The preparation is the gift. The stillness is the confirmation. The restlessness you feel, that is the stirring of the spirit. That is the fluttering of the wings before the flight. And just when you think you are alone, just when you think nothing is happening, you will realize that everything is happening. Let me tell you, when God is about to give you something big, you will begin to talk to yourself differently. You will not speak as the man who lacks, but as the man who has already received. Your words change. You no longer ask, "How will this happen?" You begin to declare it is done, and your words will feel strange at first. Yes, they will, but keep speaking them. Keep imagining them, for the word becomes flesh when it is persisted in. All things exist. The house, the car, the relationship, the health, the wealth. Every form you can imagine already exists in the dimension of imagination. You do not create it. You select it. You do not force it. You fuse with it. And when you dwell in the feeling of having it, you have it. Even if the world tells you otherwise. Especially when the world tells you otherwise. When God is about to give you something big, you begin to feel an irrational calm. You will walk through the storm with peace. You will hear the noise, but it will not shake you. You will see the facts, but you will no longer bow to them. You will know that what you see is only the shadow, and what you feel is the substance. You have shifted. You have crossed the bridge, and the world must follow. Everything in your world is yourself pushed out. There is no other. And when you change your conception of self, the world must reflect it. The world is a mirror, and if you see a foggy reflection, it is only because your inner image is not yet clear. But when it is, when it is, you will see it outpictured in full color and form. I remember vividly times in my life when great things were about to unfold, and the signs were always internal. I felt detached from what once fascinated me. I no longer chased. I simply rested in the knowing. I dared to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And then in perfect sequence, the people, the events, the coincidences all lined up, as if orchestrated by a hidden hand. Because they were. That hand was mine. That hand was imagination. You may be tempted to doubt, and doubt will come, like a shadow trying to reclaim your light. But let it pass. Do not argue with it. Simply return to the state. Return to the feeling. Return to the end. Because when God is about to give you something big, the only work required is to assume the end. The rest will take care of itself. You do not have to hustle. You do not have to beg. You do not have to prove. Your only job is to enter the state and remain faithful to it. And how do you know when you are in the state? You feel it, you relax into it. You smile with no cause. You walk differently. You move with a certainty that makes no sense to those around you. And that is how you know. You begin to see signs in the world, not because they cause the manifestation, but because they reflect it. A song on the radio, a phrase someone says, a dream, a vision, a repeated number. These are not magic. They are mirrors. They show you that you have already moved. You have already received. And now the world is rearranging to make visible what you already hold within. This is why I tell you, live from the end, not toward it, but from it. Let the outer world catch up. Let the people doubt. Let the logic resist. You have seen the promise in the inner temple. You have touched it in silence, and no one can take it from you. There will come a point when the desire no longer feels urgent. That is the moment it has been impressed. The fire becomes a gentle glow. The hunger becomes a knowing, and you stop seeking. That is when the seed has taken root. That is when the harvest is guaranteed. When God is about to give you something big, you become unshakable. Not because you are trying to be strong, but because you are finally resting in truth. You have made the unseen your dwelling place. You have married the feeling of fulfillment. And now the world must give you what you have already accepted as yours. You will find yourself thanking God before the thing arrives. That is the secret. Gratitude is not a reaction. It is a creation. When you say thank you for what you do not yet see, you cause it to appear. Because your thankfulness is evidence that you have already received it in the only place that matters within. The world is clay. Your imagination is the potter. And when you shape the unseen with clarity and conviction, the seen must conform. Do not ask when. Do not ask how. Simply be. Be in the state. Be in the assumption. Be in the knowing. That is enough. You may be surrounded by contradiction and still feel joy. That is your sign. You may have no external proof and yet feel full. That is your sign. You may have stopped checking, stopped wishing, stopped pleading, and started living as though you already have it. That is your sign. You are not waiting for God. God is waiting for you to align, to assume, to become. The gift is already given. Your job is to claim it, not with force, but with faith, not with fear, but with imagination. And when you do, the entire universe responds. So if today you feel a shift, an inner whisper, a subtle knowing, do not ignore it. That is God tapping on the walls of your heart, saying, are you ready? And if you say yes, yes in thought, yes in feeling, yes in assumption, then prepare. For the world you once knew will crumble, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. You are the dreamer and the dream. You are the creator and the creation. And the moment you accept the bigness of what is coming, is the moment it begins to manifest. Do not concern yourself with appearances. They lie. Only imagination tells the truth. See with it, feel with it, walk with it, and you will absolutely know, when God is about to give you something big, because you will already have received it in the one place where all things are born, in your imagination. As you dwell longer in that imaginal scene, as you give more and more attention to the feeling of its reality, something extraordinary starts to happen within you. The boundary between what is and what is imagined begins to blur. You no longer question if it's coming. You begin to live as though it's already here. And that shift, that quiet certainty, is the unmistakable indication that the manifestation is not only near, it is inevitable. You see, God never teases. What you can vividly imagine and feel with conviction is already yours in the unseen. The delay is not in God's giving, it is only in your receiving. And receiving is not an action, it is a state of consciousness. If you desire something enormous, something life-altering, then you must become the version of yourself that naturally attracts and sustains that thing. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are conscious of being. When God is about to give you something big, He doesn't do it through force or drama. No lightning in the sky, no booming voice. The biggest gifts come quietly, wrapped in peace. The shift begins when you stop reacting to the world and begin creating from within. The world no longer dictates how you feel. Instead, your inner state begins to dictate what the world reflects. You may begin to feel oddly certain, even in the absence of visible progress. You may find yourself no longer concerned with how others perceive your process. You are no longer searching for validation, because you know, deep in your being, that what you have asked for is done. This is not delusion. This is divine consciousness. This is the knowing that bends time, rearranges matter, and makes the impossible ordinary. You become so anchored in your inner state that circumstances lose their power over you. And just when others think you are doing nothing, you are in fact doing the greatest work of all. You are creating reality. You are embodying the end. You are saturating your subconscious, and you are maintaining the assumption in the face of contrary evidence. That is faith. That is God in motion. Then you begin to see flickers, little things, echoes of the imagined reality, bleeding through into this one. Someone speaks the words you've been hearing in your mind. You stumble across images, signs, scenes that feel eerily familiar. These are not coincidences. They are previews. They are confirmations that your assumption is hardening into fact. They are the outer forms of your inner convictions. You may not even get excited at first. Why? Because it already feels natural. You've rehearsed this scene so many times in the theater of your mind, that when it begins to show itself on the world stage, you simply nod. You are not surprised, because you've already lived it. That is how it works. That is how God gives, in complete alignment with your consciousness. So when you feel yourself losing interest in the noise of the world, understand, you are being drawn into the silence where God speaks. When you are no longer trying to force the outcome, it means you finally trust the source. When you feel compelled to clean your space, change your wardrobe, walk differently, speak differently, it is not random. You are being prepared. The new is entering. When the desire feels less like a hope and more like a memory, you are on the cusp. You begin to think, it already happened, even though time has yet to catch up. That's your key. You are no longer on the timeline of waiting. You've entered the dimension of fulfillment. And everything in the material world will bow to that. The signs are subtle, but unmistakable. Your feelings change. Your self-talk changes. Your inner world becomes vivid and steady. You stop obsessing. You stop doubting. You live your day as though what you once chased now follows you. And this shift in dynamic is crucial. No longer are you the seeker. You are now the one who is sought. When God is about to give you something big, He first expands your capacity to hold it. That's why old identities fall away. That's why former beliefs feel like tight clothes. You're growing. You're being molded. And if it feels uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the breaking of the old vessel. The new you, the one who already has the thing you asked for, must emerge. But make no mistake, this new you does not require your effort to become. It only requires your willingness to let go of the old, to let go of needing proof, to let go of needing control, to let go of questioning if you're worthy. You are always worthy. The gift is not earned. It is accepted. And when you accept it in imagination, in consciousness, then the outer world must deliver. This is law. It cannot fail. But it does require your faith, not blind faith, imaginative faith, the kind of faith that sees what isn't yet visible and lives from it as though it were. You may notice that people begin to treat you differently. That's because they are responding to the new state you occupy. Without saying a word, your energy shifts. Without effort, the outer world recalibrates. What once ignored you now gravitates to you. Why? Because you have changed your self-concept, and everything must mirror that. God moves through your assumption. God doesn't reward effort. He reflects belief. And your assumption, once persisted in, becomes belief. That belief becomes identity. And your identity becomes experience. So if you feel a strange calm today, if you feel a detachment from outcomes, if you find yourself smiling for no reason, take heart. That is your sign. That is the evidence that you are pregnant with a new reality. And just like the mother who carries without seeing, who waits without worry, who nurtures what is growing unseen, so too must you carry your desire in the womb of your imagination until it bursts into form. You will know when the time is near, because you won't be frantic anymore. You won't be checking the outside. You'll walk by faith. You'll speak differently, move differently, even eat and sleep differently. Because the version of you who already has the thing is now the one making the decisions. The world responds not to your words but to your state. And when your state shifts, your surroundings must shift. People will come into your life. Opportunities will unfold. Doors that seemed closed will swing open. But all of it is just the echo. The real shift was in you, and now the world has no choice but to keep up. So do not be dismayed when the old falls away. Do not mourn the loss of what no longer fits. It is making room for something greater. Trust it. Trust the process. Trust your inner vision more than you trust appearances. The promise is within you, not somewhere out there. And as you continue to dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as you keep living from the end with boldness and trust, something beautiful and undeniable begins to happen. Your reality begins to rearrange itself in the most unexpected ways. Things that once seemed far from reach now come effortlessly. People you never thought you'd meet appear. Circumstances that looked immovable suddenly bend in your favor. And yet it all feels so natural, because you've lived it already again and again in the silence of your inner world. This is the mystery that so many overlook. They look for miracles outside, while the real miracle is the change within. They wait for confirmation in the physical, while you, having come to know the truth, seek no such proof. Your proof is your state. Your evidence is your peace, and your faith is your compass, guiding you through what others call uncertainty, but what you now know to be divine preparation. There is a moment when the old self dies, and the new self is born, not with fanfare but with stillness. One day you simply stop trying. You stop striving. You stop striving. You stop manipulating conditions, and instead you rest. You rest in the awareness that what you have imagined is yours. You rest in the knowing that all is working together for your good, and that rest is power. That stillness is strength. It is not inaction, it is alignment. God does not operate on your timeline. He operates on the timeline of belief. And the moment your belief is complete, when the inner image is clear and the emotional signature is stable, that is when the world responds. Not a second before and never a second late. Everything happens in divine sequence, but the spark always begins with you. You'll know when the manifestation is near because your desire will no longer feel like lack. It will feel like presence. You will no longer say, I want this. Instead you'll say, this is mine, even when you don't see it, especially when you don't see it. Because the moment you see it with the inner eye and feel it as real, the outer must catch up. And it always does. There will come a time when you'll look back and realize that what once felt like delay was divine orchestration, that every closed door was protection, that every seeming setback was a setup for something greater. And you'll thank God not just for the gift, but for the journey that made you ready to receive it. For it is never just about the manifestation. It is about who you become in the process of receiving. It is about the expansion of your awareness, the refinement of your faith, and the deep, intimate relationship you build with your own imagination, your own God self through it all. So if you feel the nudge today to stop striving and start assuming, obey it. If you feel called to turn inward rather than chase outward, listen. If you feel inexplicably content, even though nothing has changed externally, rejoice. These are not random moments. They are sacred signs. They are the footsteps of God moving silently across the canvas of your life, preparing the stage for something magnificent. If people say you are unrealistic, let them. If they say you're delusional, bless them. They do not yet understand that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. They have not yet tasted the power of imagination. But you have. You've seen it, you've felt it, and you now know. This is how it works. This is how reality is made. You no longer beg the world to give you what you seek. You no longer chase conditions. You have become the condition. You have embodied the state. And because you have dared to assume the end boldly, persistently, and faithfully, it is done. It was done the moment you imagined it. Do not be concerned if things look the same on the outside. Reality takes time to catch up to your inner conviction. But it always does. Hold fast. Remain faithful. Persist in the feeling, and soon you will witness the full outpicturing of what you already possess within. Even then, even when the thing appears, you will realize something even greater, that the true reward was not the thing itself, but the awareness that you could create it, that you could enter into the state, and bring forth the invisible into visibility, that you could commune with God not in temples made of stone, but in the holy place of your own wonderful human imagination. Then your desires will evolve. Your faith will deepen, you'll begin to imagine even more boldly. Knowing now that you are the author and finisher of your experience, you'll no longer settle, you'll no longer shrink, because you now understand God within you is limitless, and what you imagine without doubt is already on its way to you. So continue to listen to the subtle cues, the quiet shifts. Continue to let go of the old story. Continue to nourish the vision, because when God is about to give you something big, He prepares you first by expanding your mind, softening your heart, and awakening your inner eye. He whispers before He shouts. He plants before He harvests. And the stillness you feel, that is Him moving. That is creation in progress. Hold that vision. Feel it as real. Trust the unseen more than what you can touch. Because what you touch is the past. But what you imagine, what you feel into being, that is the future you are calling forth. And it is always bigger than you expected. Always greater than what you thought you deserved. Because God gives from His nature, not from your effort. So walk by faith, dwell in the end, rest in the assumption, and prepare quietly and joyfully for what you asked for is coming. And it will arrive precisely the way all great things do, silently, powerfully, and perfectly timed. So I leave you with this. If right now you feel a strange stillness, a quiet detachment, an unexplainable calm, rejoice. You are not losing your desire. You are becoming it. You are aligning with the reality where it is already done. That inner shift is not weakness, it is power. It is the voice of God saying, prepare yourself for what you have dared to believe is already yours. Do not look around for signs, be the sign. Do not ask when it will happen, assume that it already has. And when you walk in that assumption long enough, reality must bow.